For those of you joining us online, thank you so much once again for joining us. I'm just going to quickly go through a quick introduction, and then we'll get into the conversation. So, when the All Progressive Congress was formed in February 6, 2013, many Nigerians thought the structure to reinvent, reshape, and restructure Nigeria to be prosperous, peaceful, and united had come. The party was formed through an unprecedented merger of the strongest political parties from the southeast and northern Nigeria. There were many defections from the ruling People's Democratic Party. But of course, most of these new parties were the regular Joe politicians. The new formation also had the blessing of a few respected Nigerians, like the vice presidential running mate. He's a professor of law, and he was pastoring a church at the time. The reason why I mentioned that is because that's a big deal in Nigeria, you know. And if all these didn't convince the large section of Nigerians, then the Apc Manifesto did. Well, first item in the Apc Manifesto is the Nigerian Constitution. And the number one point on their agenda, as it is on their website, is to initiate action to amend our Constitution. I'm quoting them verbatim now. Initiate action to amend our Constitution with a view to devolving powers, duties, and responsibilities to states and local governments in order to entrench true federalism and the federal spirit. There was a third item on that list that was also on the manifesto, and that's to attract the best and the brightest minds in our politics and public service. They wanted to do that by aggressively recruiting professionals within Nigeria and in the diaspora through internships, fellowships, executive appointments, and special nomination to contest elective offices. Of course, you and I know that none of this happens. That manifesto, according to the vice president, Nigeria's vice president right now, Professor Osinbajo, that document was written in Professor Patutomi's house. We all know who Professor Patutomi is. And he was also in company of one of Nigeria's brilliant minds, a man by the name Wale Edun. I think he was one time Commissioner for Finance in Lagos State. So many of us in 2015 followed the leader that inspired hope and change, and it was real. The movement had a political and technical structure to take us to the promised land. Well, it's been 6 years into that now, and that ship is definitely cruising in the direct opposite of its destination. President Buhari may have had good intentions at the beginning, but there is a very popular proverb that I know that says, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, hell for sure we are now. Things are falling apart so fast, and the center literally cannot truly hold. President Buhari's administration looks totally overwhelmed and beaten down by insurrections, social, economic, and political downturns, plus COVID-19, as all other governments around the world. For me, what the NSAS protest did was to prove that we have a voice and we can be heard. We must not surrender despite intimidation. Rather, we must strategize and keep the conversation going and loud. And joining me to kickstart these series of conversations, I have already with us right now on the Zoom call, I have Rit Katumwa Guan. I call her Rit. Rit has been in the broadcast media profession for more than 12 years. She's a gender specialist and women and girls' rights advocate. Rit is joining us from Abuja, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Rit.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And also, I have a dear friend of mine, Grace Oyenubi. Grace started a journalism career in Nigeria. And as she had 15 years of news production experience with the Nigerian Television Authority until she moved her trade to making documentary films. She is a UC Berkeley School of Journalism graduate, and she co-produced and co-directed the short film Forced. That documentary focused on the survivors of rape, the abduction and displacement of locals during the Boko Haram insurgencies, which we're still experiencing anyway. Grace is also joining us from California. Grace, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm joining you from Virginia.
From where?
Virginia.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well, Tolu Olatunji is also here with us. Tolu is the legal expert tonight. And well, this morning in Canada, so I'm in between two continents. Tolu is a lawyer, arbitrator, mediator, and a notary public. His legal expertise cuts across commercial law, realty and dispute resolution. He is the lead partner at Edge Hill LP, a corporate and commercial and dispute resolution firm. Is joining us from Ibadan, Southwest Nigeria. Tolu, thank you for joining us.
The pleasure is mine. Good to be here.
Yeah, and I have Dayo Ibitoye. Dayo is the communications guru. That's what I call him. Dayo is a development communication professional and media strategist with 8 years of work experience in international development in Africa. He has an accomplished track record of using proven innovative and cutting-edge industry tools and approaches to deliver tailored messages to different audiences. I know Dayo is joining us from the Lagos Business School as he is undergoing the program right now. Dayo, thanks for taking time out of that really, really busy schedule to join us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Debayo. It's a pleasure joining you.
Now, Wale is probably going to join us soon. I still can't see him, but I'll go ahead and introduce him so that if we're able to sort that technicality out. Oh, Fumi Akinshola is not also here. Well, so when it joins us, I'll do their introduction. I think we're just going to go right in and start this conversation so we don't keep our beautiful viewers waiting. All right, Dayo, I'll take you right on. So I know that you wrote a reflective essay for the Harvard Kennedy School using the Empathetic bridge model, in which you did a beautiful analysis of the Nigerian president's speech after the Lekki shooting. What did you find out in that research and analysis?
Okay, how many minutes do I have to speak?
Well, you can do that analysis quickly in 2 minutes.
Oh man, it is very hard to do in 2 minutes. Well, I'll try.
Just get right on it.
Okay, great. So the empathetic bridge model was developed by about Professor Marshall Gans, who also happened to have written most of President Obama's speeches, and fortunately enough, was my professor of public narrative at Apc Kennedy School. So the empathetic bridge model pretty much provides a guide for leaders to communicate with empathy. It guides how leadership communication should be, how a leader should communicate with their followers, especially in times of disruption or crisis. And the question that comes up most times is this only for leaders? The truth is we are all leaders. We all lead in our different spheres, whether you are the president of a nation like Nigeria, or you are or in your home, you lead in your home, and all of that. We're all leaders. So this model applies to everyone. Now, the reason why I wrote this article for HKS was because at that point, we're going through a very critical moment in our history as a nation. And we all know the events that played out before the unfortunate incident on October 20 last year with the killing of protesters at the Lekki toll gate. And so I tried to look at the whole scenario and then use the model, to explain why I think our president should have done better with his address, right? So just like we have a bridge lead us from one point to another, so also we have the empathetic bridge, which is meant to lead a conversation, a speech or a narrative from the point of helplessness. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Wale, do you want to mute your audio?
Okay, yes.
Hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Just mute your audio
Can you hear me now?
temporarily. I can hear you, Wale, good. I can hear you and I can see you. That's good. Dayo was on when you came in, so if you can mute your audio. Okay, so Dayo, you have the floor. You can go ahead.
All right, great. So just like we have a bridge a physical bridge lead us from a point to another. So also we have the empathetic bridge, which is meant to lead us from a point of hopelessness, confusion, desperation, to a point of hope and optimism. And so during that event that played out last year, we all waited for days and weeks, hoping that the president will address the nation. That didn't happen. I mean, until after the Lekki shooting, we saw a tweet from Mr. Femi Adesina saying that the president will address the nation in the evening. And for me, just like every other Nigerian, we were coming from a point of hopelessness, you know, and we were looking forward to a speech that would encourage us as a nation. We're looking for something to hold on to. We're looking for a semblance of hope and empathy. You know, we had gone through a lot, and then we just wanted something to hold on to. And so we wanted a president that will address us like a father would address his children, right? And so when the president finally spoke, personally, I felt disappointed because I was very expectant to hear what the president had to say. And you know, I I just watched people die on an Instagram live, and we wanted a president that would come out with empathy, you know, and talk to us as if he really cares. To be honest, I was disappointed, and I think that speech was utterly insensitive.
Okay, so
Um,
Dio,
yeah, all right.
let me just, because the reason why I asked you this question is because there's been so much going about the rounds. I also personally believe a little bit about that the leadership is a major issue in Africa, and also that's not, it's also peculiar to Nigeria. So the reason why I asked you that question was to do that analysis and also move to the space whereby I want to ask you that is this quality that we see in this administration and its leadership, is it common in successive Nigerian governments? Is this how it's been? I don't know if you've taken time to just cast
Yeah,
your mind back to see what's been going on around.
yeah. So I hope I will have time to actually analyze that speech because I really want to. But to answer your question, I think the reason why we are even at this point is because we've had a failure of leadership, right? If you remember, the reason why we all voted for this present government was because we were tired of the government of President Jonathan. So yes, it's been an issue of successive leadership failure. It is
Okay.
not peculiar to this government, really. It's been like that, and so we need to do something critical to change our leadership structure in Nigeria.
All right, thank you there. Grace, I'm going to talk to you right now. The reason why, I decided that we should have this conversation is because I thought that a lot happened that opened our eyes during the NSAS protest. And after the NSAS protest came and, went by, so many other issues, came up. It's always been in the news, but I think we're dealing with it more apparently now. So Grace, there were a couple of systemic and structural issues that came up during that movement. Top on the list is the ever fresh issue of restructuring, or not to restructure to true federalism. Well, I want you to tell the audience and educate us. What do you think true federalism is, especially within the Nigerian context? I know if I ask every one of us here, it will be different answers for all of us. But from your perspective and from where you're sitting and looking down, what do you think true federalism is?
Thank you so much for that question. I'll say federalism is just a system of government, right? What we will ask is, what is our own system of government in Nigeria? And I know one major thing that we keep talking about is the principle of federal character. Everyone wants to eat the cake, like we call it, the national cake. And I wouldn't say it has brought us together like it should. I would say in so many cases, it's brought in all kinds of discord. Everyone wants to be represented, yes. And of course, we know that no single place has monopoly of knowledge, like having people of merit, taking different positions, So if we want to talk about that, we have to really look at, okay, who are the right people that should be in government? Is it based on ethnicity? Is it based on religion? Or is it based on merit? People that can deliver, you know? It was exciting to see that we now see that we have a voice, like the slogan says, Sorosoke.
Sorosoke, yeah.
You know, so it was exciting to see that we know we have a voice and we know how to use it. It was exciting to see people from all across the country coming together with one voice, you know, even though some other people use it for other avenues. But the majority of the people came out and told the government, look, we're discontent. We're not happy with what is happening. This is us saying this is all us saying that. And we all know that this came about because of injustices. You know, we had a police force that had a situation whereby people were, you know, harassed, some of them sexually. We had cases like that, you know, and people were speaking out. I have a personal experience of that. I remember as a reporter going to cover the police then. I went to their office, which is just beside Guzape there. And I just went to get information. And there and then, a police officer right there in front of me shot someone on the leg, you know, with impunity. So it's legit what the people are asking for. They're not satisfied, they're not happy, you know, and they're saying it. The only thing I have a problem with the federal character I was talking about is that, for goodness sake, if we have people of merit, people that will deliver, let them be there. I remember the service chiefs. Immediately they announced the new service chiefs. People were already screaming federal character. And they had to quell it. They had to say, no, in this situation, we need people that know their work. Let them be there, you know, people of merit, let them be there, you know, and that was what happened. And I just hope that, you know, we'll be able to use this, our voice, to raise issues. We look at Nigeria, we have one of the highest mortality, maternal mortality rates. You know, if we can talk about issues like that, you know, issues that impact us, that affect us. We have gender-based violence all around us. We have internally displaced persons, you know. We have so many things we can use our voice to talk about. Hoping they will listen, right? Hoping the government, the people that should listen will actually listen. But I'm just excited that people have found their voice and they know it is strong and it matters. You know, I hope this continues.
Okay, Tolu, let me come to you and let's see what the legal side of this whole thing is. You know, the South, the East, the Southeast, the Southwest, and the South are majorly those calling for restructuring right now. And they want it before 2023 elections. The Southwest, for instance, wants it all the way back to 1960, the regional government. But, you know, we can keep talking and, you know, going for all this. But I want you to tell us from a constitutional and legislative perspective, is this even possible? And if it is, do you think the processes involved can happen before 2023 elections?
All right, thank you. So I'll start from where you stopped. Is it possible? Yes, it is. But I won't say, will it happen before 2023? I'll say, will it happen? I doubt it a lot. The process of restructuring and, you know, going back to whatever it is, as a matter of fact, that the current structure of 36 states is not the highest, is not the problem per se, so to say. It's the fact that even what we have, we don't adhere to the Constitution for starters. The Constitution is only used to support or to meet the ends of the people in power, so to say. But let me come back to the process of you know, restructuring. It requires the amendment of the Constitution, or altogether throwing away this farce we call Constitution and start a new one. The 1999 constitution was handed over to us by the military. It was just a group, I mean, a number of army people. They drafted something and overnight, just handed it over. And now we're in trouble because we can't even work it. We know for certain that it is not working. The process of fixing it is quite complex, but it's possible. But the people that should do it are benefiting from the status quo. Let me track back a little. To amend the constitution, you need an approval of whatever amendment or correction you want to do, depending on what part of the constitution you want to amend. If it's related to chapter 4 of the constitution, that's the fundamental rights. The creation of states, which boils down to the question you asked about maybe the regional system. If you want to correct the number of states we have now by increasing or reducing, that's chapter 8 of the constitution, as well as altering the entire constitution itself. They require 4/5 of the Senate and the House of Rep to approve it. And once they do that, you have to send the bill or the law to all the states' House of Assemblies in the 36 states in Nigeria. And you must have a 2/3 to do that. Now, the information or a bit of experience that I have about passing law in Nigeria is the fact that most of the time, parliamentarians, they pass law after collecting Ghana must goes or when they have personal interests involved. The last court that was added to the courts we have in Nigeria, a federal court in Nigeria.
You will have to explain what Ghana must go is, because we might have audiences who don't know what Ghana must go is.
Okay, I mean,
kickbacks, bribe.
Fine, I understand that you lobby the parliament, you push pressure groups and all that. But what we have here, the corruption is everywhere, anywhere in the world, but when the substance itself is faulty, they passed a law to create another federal court, and it was basically they lifted a portion of the old law of that court before it became a federal court and just dumped it in the constitution. It became a problem. We had to resort to the Supreme Court to actively amend that law.
So because let me come in and ask you, Tolu, what, from your own perspective, do you think we should dump this constitution like South Africa did after apartheid and went through the process of reconciliation, or do you think we should doctor this constitution?
The former, absolutely. We should dump the constitution, and here is why. The constitution, I called it a farce the other time, it's a sham. It starts with we the people. The military handed over decrees to us, but it starts with we the people. Who are the people? Who made the constitution? Does it truly reflect the people of Nigeria? And how much do you want to go back and forth, beating and adjusting and readjusting the constitution to have something stable? There was a national confab the other time. Nothing has been done about the recommendation. It is not working. It doesn't seem workable.
Okay. Reese, let me come to you quickly. Why is the North hesitant with this restructuring? I know you're not from Northeast, but maybe you have an idea.
I flew there anyway, so. Okay, so I wouldn't say hesitant, so to speak. It's like the case of having a birthright. That's how I want to look at it. Before this meeting started, I went to look back at what the initial division was with federalism, when federalism was in place and when we had the regional governments. So the North had the lion's share of the country. That's the truth of it. Till today, it still has that look and feel. Of the 36 states, 19 of these states are termed or are lumped together as northern states, even with the revolt of states like Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, Kwara, who, still identify as North Central or Middle Belt, they still have that a majority, so to say, in number. So 19 of 36 states are northern states. So to start with, that already gives the North a sort of superiority complex, so to speak. And then with time, there's always been this barter kind of trade in politics from 1999. Anything that has been done politically, especially federal level, a sort of partnership has been sought out with the North, giving them that superior position, so to speak. It may not have been, on paper, it may not, like this rotational sort of election process that political parties adopt. It's not constitutional, but they just developed it sort of to appease a certain part of the country. And each time, a partnership is struck with the North. Why? Because of the numbers. Yeah. It's a game of numbers. That's just it. It's a game of numbers. The North has more numbers on paper. I keep insisting it's on paper. Because during elections, if you look at the people that are voting, we see images of children who are underaged, are on the queues voting, and that adds up to the number. We see, people voting multiple times. That adds up to the number. So it may not be a legal stance, but that's what the North is holding against the other parts of the country. We have the number, and the other parts of the country has made the North feel that continuous superior level. Like, okay, you have the numbers, we always have to negotiate with you when it comes to leadership position. So it's basically that.
Okay. Wally, let me come to you quickly. There's so much fuss about restructuring as if that's probably the only thing that's going to fix our country. Do you think this is one ace card that we can play and we get it all right?
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so I think the call for restructuring has never been this high in Nigeria. And I think that Nigerians generally has never been this frustrated with the system. The call for restructuring itself is born out of frustration, right? I don't think that restructuring itself is based on geographical restructuring is the final solution to the Nigerian problem. I think the Nigerian problem itself is that we have a system that does not work, and we have people in power who are not interested in seeing the system work, except the one that works for their own benefits. Like one of the panelists rightly said, right? Even as damaged as the Nigerian constitution is, it is not followed. Things don't work. The constitution was written as imperfect as it is, right? If that constitution is followed to the letter, some things might not be convenient, but it will still work. So in my own opinion, I think that the call for restructuring is born out of frustration, which is justifiable. It's born out of the fact that as a country, we've not come to a point in which our leaders see us as actually a single set of people that deserve the same kind of fairness and try to inspire unity amongst us and also fairness. And we still have a situation where you have leaders who still live with the historical background of how Nigeria came to be, how the power sharing was originally conceived. And then you find it difficult in all that for people not to talk about restructuring. So for me, the way forward is either we choose to restructure or we do not restructure. We need leaders that are totally alienated from the idea of power, structure, ethnicity bias, religious bias. We need leaders that can actually understand what governance means and be able to deliver on those promises. that they make. They should have a burden, to be able to say, we made these promises and we delivered. Like when you started this conversation, you talked about the Apc Manifesto.
Yeah.
If you read that manifesto, it had a lot of beautiful things, lovely, things. But you find out that if you talk to an average politician now, he's like, well, they are 2 years into it and they're like, well, we've done the best we can do. That's all we can. There's not, that burden is not there. So even if you restructure today, if you do what is called the geographical restructuring, right?
Yeah.
Where you have the Southwest and you have the Northeast, if you still have this set of crops of people, right, divided across those regions, you will still end up with the same thing. Okay. Then the Oyo State people, Oyo people will start saying, we want to divide from Lagos. No, we want to have our own. So how granular can you go if you don't have a good leadership?
Okay, thank you so much, Wally. Dai, I'm going to come to you in a bit, but I know Fumi Akinshola just joined us. Fumi, can you hear me? You're on mute. Can you unmute your mic? Good.
Sorry. I was just apologizing. Good evening, everyone. I'm still at work, and that's why I couldn't join in earlier on. I'm so sorry for coming in late.
No worries, Fumi. So, like I promised, that when you come in, I'm just going to do a quick introduction, and then we'll bring you back in. So, well, that's Fumi Akinshola. Fumi is a journalist, and I know Fumi is currently a senior programs producer with Plus TV Africa, a Pan-African 24-hour TV news channel. I remember Fumi during the NSAS movement going on the scene the morning after the shooting to do some videos for us. Well, Fumi, we've gone a little far from where we started, but I'm just going to plunge you right into where we are right now. You remember during the NSAS movement, the government had berated and put fine on some news mediums. I know maybe Arise TV channels and probably an AIT channel, and then I remember the issue was that they said they are unprofessional. They are unprofessional in their coverage. And I want to ask you, why are you guys being unprofessional? What did they do?
Okay, so I'm sorry that I'm laughing because it was actually just very funny.
Hello, Fumi. Oh, we lost Fumi there. Tolu, let me come to you quickly before Fumi comes back. What's this thing? Okay, all these news people doing things wrong, and I remember you shared a document recently with me, also during this Fulani herdsmen and stuff, whereby the same word was used about how news media should watch it and be professional in what they do. What's going on here? What's the conflict about in the broadcasting code or in our constitution? I would assume that there's a freedom of information bill and all of that, and news people can report what they see, because I don't know. I don't think, do you have an idea what the issue is? What's the conflict?
Well, I think we have an administration that is obsessed with its image. They no longer care about doing the right things. They no longer care about fulfilling their promises. They no longer care about giving you reasons to appreciate them. They want you to like them by force. It's become a force thing, Whatever negative news or information that come out against this government, the next thing they'll come to say, without any investigation, without any verification, without any substantial counter argument or position, they'll just come and tell you it's false news. Go back to the Lekki massacre that they claimed that it wasn't a massacre. The very first thing that the military came out to say was fake news. And when, DJ Switch's video, I also watched that video live that day, came out, one of their guys came and said the videos were doctored. Can you just be truthful for God's sake? And now coming to the media, the problem they have with the media is that they hate the truth. The problem they have with the media is any information that makes them look bad to them is bad. And we can't have that. There's no other explanation for it. You know, they have this, like the document you mentioned I sent to you.
Yeah.
That, you know, anything that would disintegrate the country or that will create annoyance and all whatnot. But what happens to the truth? That's the question. What happens to the truth? What's the job of the journalists if they can't state the facts? I mean, we watch CNN and Fox and Trump and all those things. Nobody went shutting down any media or, you know, avoiding fines and all those things. Then again, before I stop, it's fundamentally wrong that an agency of government is judge and jury in its own cause. When you say so, a media outlet has breached a clause in the law, why not put them to trial? Why they just summarily sanction? It's not done anywhere.
Okay.
But particularly for this government, anything that makes them look bad, they don't want to have it.
All right. So,
That's so true.
Dio, let me come back to you quickly. I don't know if Fumi is back.
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm turning
Fumi.
off my video. Maybe to help with my bandwidth. Yeah.
Okay. So you were responding to my question about
why. So I was responding about and I like what the last speaker just said about how the government is just afraid about anything making them look bad. So it has absolutely nothing with reporting, not giving facts. So for example, when I went to the scene, if you remember, Yola, I did an Instagram live and also reported on my station live. I saw blood on that scene. And then the government comes and says nobody was killed, there was no blood there. We still have footage of that blood on the scene in my office. Even if you go to my Instagram live video, some of that blood is still there. There is blood, there were people killed there. So for the government to come out and say, oh, there was no blood there, there was nothing. I went there the morning right after. And I don't understand it. So when is it like you have made a mistake? Is it that you're going to keep denying it to make it go away? It won't go away. So, and then if you remember, there was also a Premium Times report on this NSARS. All the shanty by the waters. If you also remember, I also have that recorded on my Instagram live as well. The policemen refused to let us speak to them, but the Premium Times reporter went back later to speak to them, and they gave account of some of the things that actually happened that night, and also to the following morning of that day.
Yeah, I saw that video.
About media reporting irresponsibly, I honestly don't think anybody tried to incite anything. Even one of the things that made people unhappy, because I spoke to some of the, should I say, the area boys and some of the people that were burning things around that I saw in Victoria Island, because some of them accosted me on my way back from that scene. They were just upset that people were killed for no reason. So it was not as if they were just, there was anything that had been reported or said. Some of them were there on that protest ground, because some of them might even come there every day, because I covered the Lekki toll for about 5 to 6 days while the protest was on. Some of those guys were there. So it was nothing about the media reporting anything falsely or anything, or claiming people died when people did not die. People died. People died. Hospitals around Ajah, Lekki also said that people, they treated people, so people died. So like last speaker said, the government is just very ridiculous in saying, they're just very, I won't say conscious, but it's ridiculous. Every time they just try to paint themselves in a good light. So for example, there's this recent rating that's come out from Transparency International, and Sure, Garba is telling us that it's an indictment on Nigerians, not an indictment on Buhari. I don't understand.
Okay, I saw that response too, and
exactly.
Well,
so yeah.
Okay, so Dio, let me come to you. You are the digital media guy here. I want to ask you, with the way the government is clamping down on everyone, they clamp down on coordinators of the NSAS protests, the media. If you were asked to design a digital media strategy, say, because that's where the world is now, we're in a digital age, I don't think anyone will be able to clamp down on that. What ideas do you have? What should a movement in the near future look like?
Okay, so for me, I think the only strategy right now, if I'm to design a strategy, will be focused on the next general elections. Um, I mean, we have a government that denied the killing of protesters that we all watched live on social media. So how low can they go? I think the only solution right now is to get the right people into government and to fix our political system. So I mean, if I'm to design any digital strategy, it will be to find a way to rally young people, through the media, and put vibrant young people into government. Because the truth is, the only way that anything can change, the only way that policies can change, is if the right people are there. And so, how do we get these right people into government? So it will be simply, let us have a system where we have these kind of conversations, where we can bring young people together and identify those ones who are forward thinking, who understands Nigeria, who understands the plight and all these concerns, because it takes you to be in the present. It takes you to understand the issues before you can fix it. So to be honest, I have given up on this leadership. I just want young, vibrant, forward-thinking, upwardly mobile thinkers in government, and that is what my strategy will be focused on. Simply to
Feel,
get the rest into government.
yeah, I understand and totally feel your passion, Dio. It's just that they've built such structure that I don't know. Anyway, I'll come to you, Wale and Ritz. I'll give you the same question, and I want answers from the two of you. In a nation where trust is lacking, should restructuring and reinventing the structure of government even be the next right step? We're so divided. What do you think? Rich, let me come to you first.
Okay, I really don't think restructuring should be our first point of call. First, we should be reconciling. Reconciliation has to happen. We saw that in the case of South Africa and apartheid. I mean, our case may not have been as extreme as apartheid, but reconciliation needs to happen. For instance, if restructuring is going to happen, we have people that have mixed marriages. What happens to those people? When we now make a divide and then there's a north, there's middle belt, whatever the division is, what happens? The lines are really not that clear anymore.
Yeah, for instance, I just found out that you and I are cousins.
Yes, we're cousins of some sort, and I mean, so how would that divide happen? I mean, I'm from Plateau, you're from
Kwara State.
You're from Kwara State.
Yeah.
So how will that divide happen? Reconciliation has to happen first. And when that reconciliation happens, we need to find out, okay, the people of the South are hurting. What is the issue, or what are the issues? The people in the East are hurting. What are the issues? And make genuine efforts. Dio just said something. He said something earlier. He talked about empathy. Empathy when he was talking earlier. And then now he also talked about forward-thinking, right-thinking people. All of these need to add up to that. With I think somebody also talked about the confab that had happened in the past. I think that was like a test to see if some of these things would work. But what happened to all of the reports that were written from that, I don't want to call it a sham, or that scam that gulped millions of naira? I mean, people were sitting there for weeks on end discussing, they were being paid taxpayers' money. Until today, we haven't heard anything of it. Nothing has been made out of those documents. So restructuring cannot even be the first step, because what are the structures on ground for that? I mean, what would be the first step for that restructuring? Okay. What would happen? Okay, we want to divide, we want to do the restructuring. What would be the first step? Are we telling everyone, okay, start heading back to your regions? When you go there, what happens? Who is in charge? What are the structures set on ground? We haven't even agreed yet on, state policing. We've not even been able to agree on that yet. Then there are so many other issues that would happen when we get back. We're talking about, the constitution, whether we should scrap it and start off a new one. So when we go to those our new regions, how are we going to start that? Who are the people that are going to draft the constitution? Who is going to be in charge of whatever will be discussed?
All right.
Who are the people? Okay, so all of those issues will begin to come up, and then the religion and ethnicity and all of that we do not think happen. See, Nigeria has over 500 tribes. I think a lot of times when we discuss this, we look at it in the eyes of Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. 500 tribes. So even when you go to the north, where you think is predominantly Hausa, which it is not, you'll be surprised that the ethnic groups there that would not even want to be lumped together with Hausa. So what happens?
All right, Wale.
So I mean, it's.
Thank you, Reed. Wale, what do you think? You're on mute, Wale.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, like the last speaker said, I don't see restructuring, at least geographical restructuring, as a solution. What I see as a solution is finding a strategy to elect the right set of leaders. I really don't care if they are young or they are old. We just need leaders that are vibrant, that understand the environment we live in today, and that are not living with the history of the wrong and the right that has been done in the past. People who understand leadership and have experience in leadership. So you probably might not have been in the politics before, but you have a track record of doing something great wherever you are. You might have worked for an NGO, worked for a bank, but you've been known to have a reputation for creating value, right? Those are the kind of people that I think in 2023 we need to propel forward. They need to come forward. We need to propel them forward. I really don't care about young leadership or an old person. We've seen a lot of young people who have been quite disappointing. We have a lot of young governors. So it's really not, for me, it's not really about a young person. It's about what have you done before? Where were you before? What did you do? Do you have a track record of success? Of course, you will not satisfy everybody at the end of the day, but you will have a general public, or where you worked before, they need to be able to say that, yes, you've done something great. If we are able to rally around such people and propel them to power, and also get the people who we don't like today, right, negotiate with them to be able to support these people. There are people who, this government that we complain about today, you'll be surprised that if election holds tomorrow, they will still get some votes from some ardent supporters, right? The president today has been contesting for how long, right? People say that anytime he contests, even when he lost the election, there's a 12 million votes waiting for him from one region. You need such people to, if you want to be practical, right, and you want to win an election, you need such people to support this set of people that we are talking about. And at the end of the day, they have to support somebody, right? Because they will not do a third term. They would listen to they would have to listen to the voice of the people. So if the voice of the people points to two good people, they would have to choose between those two people, either they like it or not. So for me, I think that's the strategy to get us out of where we are at the moment, is to find the right set of people and make the right set of noise. Just like NSAS, we made so much noise about NSAS until the government came to address it. Before, what would have happened was that they would have said, okay, no, the IG should go and speak to them, or just arrest them, or we can't talk to this, we can't give them audience, right? If you have two set of people on the ballot box, one way or the other, on the two prominent parties that we have in Nigeria, or the three prominent parties that we have, two prominent parties that we have in Nigeria, we won't have a choice but to get it right. So if you ask me, a lot of people need to participate more in politics, get into these parties, outnumber them, and then make the right noise to effect this change that we are looking for.
All right, thank you so much, Wale. And unfortunately, we have to make way for the next session, the masterclass session, because I promised them I was going to be off, get out of here for them 5 minutes too. I know you guys have a lot to say, Dayo. I know you still wanted to do that analysis, but like I told you all in the earlier discussions, this is just a launch of these conversations. We're going to have one-on-one sessions, two-on-one sessions, whereby we can really, really talk, take these topics one after the other and really trash them. Thank you so much, Ritz, for joining me. Thank you, Tolu, Wale, Fumi. Thank you so much. I know what the newsroom can be like, so I know what you're doing. I know the sacrifice you're making. And Dayo, thank you so much. I know you're supposed to be in class, or you're done with class, but it must have been a busy day. I really appreciate you guys. And to everyone that joined us, I thought we'll be able to take questions, but if you have questions, you can send it to me. I'll send you an email so that you can have my email address and you can send me questions. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and hope I see you again at another conversation. Take care, friends.